Yesterday I asked everyone which skating terms don't you understand. For example, get your hips underneath you would be one, and today I have answers to your questions. Now I have your questions inside here. This is the big boot of internet skating questions, and what I'm going to do is just pull a question out, read it out, then give you the answer to it. First question. So the first set of questions are something that I've grouped together because I think they're slightly related to one another. Let's read them out. Open your legs. I can't perform surgery on myself, not would I want to. Keep your hips closed. Also, can you please make a video demonstrating all the jumps off the ice? I can't seem to find any good ones. Yes, I can do that video. Hip rotation. Open your hips. So first off, thanks for these questions. Second off, I grouped them together because they generally talk about hips and hip placement. So let's go through them. When you're talking about opening your legs or opening your hips, you know, that can mean some different things depending on the context, but generally if I say to someone you have to open your hips, it would mean that if they're skating forwards in a closed position like this, and I want them to open their hip to get their foot open so that aesthetically they have a better position. That's if it was forward skating. If I was talking about three turns or chock doors or, you know, any kind of turn where you need to control it better, and I said open your hip, it would mean you keep your hip open in order to help control the rotation and get the turn to go where you want to go. So in the example of, let's say, a forward inside bracket, I enter the bracket and I say open the hip, and that means open the knee and the foot and push the hip around in the direction you're trying to go. Now again, if you were saying open your leg, I think that falls under the same category here, because if you open the leg, the hip's going to go with it. So if I'm saying open the leg, it's going to open the hip too. Now another good way of thinking of this, open the hip and close the hip, is if your hip is closed, it means your legs are both pointing the same way, whereas if it's open, one leg will be pointing one way and one the other way. And the more you open it, the greater the difference between the angle is, and the more it's closed, well, the more they're going to be closed, just like opening and closing a door. This could help with an exit of a three turn. I turn my three turn and I'm going to open the hip, which is also going to open the leg, which is going to help control the rotation and allow me to get that position without doing that. On your three turn, you would come around and you'd put the other foot down. So we open the hip and open the leg to control the three turn, to control the bracket, to control many things. And then also when we're skating forwards, we open it in order to make it aesthetically more pleasing. The one that talked about hip rotation, I'm going to say that is very similar to open your hips. It could also mean, say you're skating forward crossovers and they say rotate your hips more. They want your hips to face more towards the center of the circle you're going around. If you're, in terms of the hip rotation, if you leave a hip open like this and you're trying to get around the corner, you're making it really hard for yourself, because you're in this position, the leg has much further to go. If I'm already with my hips in this position to the circle, the foot just has to come through there. So they might say rotate your hips, meaning instead of being here coming around the corner, they want you here, and then you can move much easier. Keep your hips closed. If I was going to take a guess as to what this is referring to, it could mean jumps. Say you're setting up for a loop jump and you're in this position, or a twizzle or anything. If I open my hip there and now try and jump, I'm definitely going to be in the wrong position in the air. I'm going to be over the left side. If I close the hip, I'm going to be in this position, and as I jump, I'll stay in this position, and I'm in a much better position to do it. So that is one example where keeping your hips closed could be applicable. Also, I can go back to my example of the forward crossovers, and again, keeping the hip closed would generally be something you could maybe say to mean get into this position, whereas keeping the hip open would be here, and it'd be counterproductive for trying to get around the corner, and that will also apply to outside edges and many other things. So when we're talking about hips open, get your hip open, get your hip closed, hip rotation, we're generally talking about using the hips to help with what we're doing on the ice, and it could also mean opening the foot, knee and hip in order to help control what you're trying to do on the ice. Camel spin with not one, not two, but 3 camel emojis. Now, to answer this question, I actually reached out to a former coach of mine, Marika Humphreys-Baranova, because her knowledge of skating history is fantastic. She's an incredible coach. Anyone in the London-based area in the UK, it is worth getting in touch with her because you will learn so much. Now, to get back to the question, I had no idea why it's called a camel spin, and she told me that there's 2 theories basically. One theory is that it was created by an Australian whose name was Campbell, and over time this got mispronounced and changed to camel. So that's the first theory. The second theory is, well, have a look at it done poorly. So what do you think? Do you think I look like a camel when I'm doing it like this? Now, I personally refer to this spin as a parallel spin. I think it makes more sense because you're trying to be parallel with the floor, but then some people do it with such an incredible position that their leg is so high it's no longer exactly parallel, but I generally prefer that name. Okay, quite a few about this topic. Let's see. I still don't understand check with your arms. THX. Checking out. Check your turns. What to check for? To check a move. Check your shoulders. Check your shoulders. Check your arms / shoulders. ... Like, okay, they're fine. I don't know why I have to check them. Checking your jump? What do I do if I check before jumping? Check your shoulders. Checking. I don't get checking. What is checking? Well, clearly checking is one of the most commonly used terms in skating, yet also poorly explained. So let's have a look what it is. This one can be very confusing if you're doing something on the ice and no one's told you what checking means and your coach says, check! And you're like, oh, you almost get a heart attack from them yelling it and you think, I have no idea what that means. Have I put ketchup down my arm? Who knows? Checking basically means using your upper body to help stop the rotation of something you're doing on the ice. So let's take the example of a 3-turn. If you go into a 3-turn, your body is facing the center of the circle. And when I say check the 3-turn after the turn, it means use your upper body to pull against the rotation you're doing in order to control it. Without checking, you do a 3-turn and your body just keeps going around and you'll keep going. So what it is using the torso, and you have to think of it like it's coming from the center of your chest, not from your arms. So it's using the torso to rotate like this in order to control the rotation. Now we think of it from the chest because if you think of it from the arms, people tend to do that. So if I do my 3-turn and I'm here and I turn and I only do this with my arms, I'm not being that efficient as if I'm turned with my chest and I keep the turn with my chest. In theory, everything you do on the ice, you should be able to do it, you know, with your hands behind your back or your hands down by your side and not even use your arms for it. You're just using the rotation like this to check. Now, in terms of the checking going into a jump, well, basically that means if I'm going into a toe and I'm here, if I'm saying check before it, I want to keep this side through. I don't want to pick and throw open my left side and then do the jump because you'll find yourself in the air in a position completely over the left, and then as you land, you're likely going to fall out of it. But if you keep that side strong in front of you as you're coming through, you have a much better shot of controlling the jump because ultimately in the jumps you want to be over this right side like this so that when you land, you can check the rotation because the momentum is taking me this way and I'm checking it by forcing my body to face against that. Now, if you're in the air and you haven't checked it or kept the left side strong going into it, you'll be up here and as you land the momentum, you're just going to get thrown off. So again, checking the landing of the jump would refer to turning that body to face the center of the circle that you're landing on as opposed to throwing it out. So again, if someone is telling you to check the shoulders specifically, I would say they actually mean turn the upper body. I would actually say that they mean turn the upper body to check, because if you just check the shoulders, I'm doing my 3-turn, I'm here and I'm just trying to do it with my shoulders, it's not very efficient. Think of it as one entire unit that moves together in order to check things. And this is, you know, checking your jumps, checking your turns, checking anything. It could be coming out of a bracket again. Check means pull, like I said about the hip earlier, but you're also pulling, the upper body is twisting that way, and that's what you'd say checking the arms means or checking the shoulders means. It means the upper body is doing everything it can to make yourself go the direction you're trying to go. I hope this has cleared up checking for everyone. If it hasn't, let me know in the comments below and I will try to clear it up even more. I think that one's done. Now, I'm sorry I didn't get to all the questions in this video. The video would have been very, very long if I would have answered them all here. So there are more coming up in the next part of this video, such as what does it mean to keep your hips underneath you and things like that. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video answering your questions about skating, covering the terms that you weren't too sure about. I hope it has cleared it up a little bit. If it didn't, let me know in the comments below and I'll help you out more. If there was a question that I missed, don't worry, it won't be the first time I do a video like this, so we can cover it again in the future, but let me know in the comments below what it is. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you want more help, more Q&As, more advice on your skating, and a load more videos, check out our Patreon page.